They were told so often by Google, by General Motors, by these guys. Everything's going online. Everything's going online. Okay, I can buy that.
It did.
Yeah, I can buy that people will go online for information. But they're still not going on to buy. Digital retailing just showed you they don't want to go on to buy. They want just information.
Welcome to the Old Guys No Shit podcast in Dealercast Studios, where we bring together decades of automotive knowledge, all together in one place. Here's your host, Old Guys Who Know Shit.
Hey, what's going on, Dealercast Nation? I am Jason Harris.
I'm Rob Mudd.
And I'm Larry Bruce.
And this is the Old Guys That Know Shit podcast.
No shit.
We know shit. Yeah. We know some shit.
Yeah, some shit. And some of it is just shit.
Some of it we just make up right on the spot, even if we don't.
That's called bullshit.
That's called bullshit.
Three experts.
I wasn't going to say it, but here you go.
All right. Well, we're back, guys. And for everybody out there watching and listening, we appreciate you coming back. And we appreciate you supporting the show and being a subscriber. And if you're not a subscriber, we don't care about you. No, I'm just kidding. We do. Thanks for coming back. Hey, guys, cool topic today. I've been saving this one just so a little bit kind of like afternoon because I know this is going to piss some of you guys off. So, I'm bringing the heat. All right, here it is.
Bringing the heat.
All right, here's today's topic: rethinking third-party listing sites. Are they still worth it?
Bum, bum, bum. Oh man.
Well.
Okay.
Lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my.
Yeah, they've out.
Okay, well, let's do this. Let's actually.
Okay.
Let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
All right. Why were they created in the first place, and what were they really for?
Well, so they were created in the first place by the newspapers, and the newspapers were losing all their shtick in their contracts because people were going digital, right? So they then let's play this game in the internet.
Yeah.
And let's use the same tactics that we use to get them to sign contracts year long. By saying, hey, if you don't get it, I'll sell it to your competitor across the street. And so they figure that worked once, it'll work again. And it did.
Plus, it's only one extra car deal to cover the cost, right?
Well, I mean,
depending on how many zip codes you want.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want anybody else to get your lead.
Well, I mean, the dealers played a role in that.
Oh, for sure.
We tried to do what dealers do, right? We don't control this, consumers do. We control this, consumers don't. Mm-hmm. And so we're not going to get on the internet. We'll show you, and the internet's just a passing thing. We're not going to worry about it.
Right.
And so we're not. And the newspapers jumped in. Yep. I mean, Auto Trader, these guys jumped in.
All the media guys.
They jumped on board that really fast. Much faster than the dealers reacted, and we got behind the eight ball, and then the next thing you know, they're pulling in traffic. I mean, they're doing the things that that dealers wouldn't do, couldn't do, didn't do, whatever you want to call it. They did it, and now all of a sudden, that you are where you are, and I think dealers know this. But I mean, without their inventory,
there's no business.
There is no.
No.
I mean,
and what these guys did is they told you that everything was digital. Well, guess how they spend their money in advertising?
On TV.
On TV.
Yes. Right? That's right. They do.
So they told you this shit doesn't work no more.
But we're gonna keep doing it. We're gonna keep doing it.
So you don't have to.
So you don't.
Yeah, we got your back, baby.
We got your back. But no, I mean, and Larry, and you do bring up a good point. I mean, I think when they first started, it was kind of a proverbial easy button, right? It was like, okay, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't necessarily want to take the time to figure it out myself. All right, somebody's coming in with an easy solution, and I'll go ahead and tap on that button,
right? And
we'll just kind of check off that proverbial.
I don't know if I call it easy. They were just the dealers I knew back then, and even in some of the things we were involved in back then, it wasn't just because it was hard or I didn't understand it or didn't know it. Mm-hmm. They were just flat not going to participate. They were going to show
the internet.
They were going to show the internet. They didn't need the internet.
Sure.
You know, and I can remember thinking back then, it's like, guys, I don't think consumers really care about what we want.
No.
But you know, I mean, but we're going to try this out, and then it didn't work out, and now you're stuck with you're right back. You had the newspaper, which had all the circulation and the magazines that had this circulation, and then they jumped in and got you started getting the traffic.
Yep.
And that's the circulation.
Well,
right?
but here is a little factoid that needs to be discussed: is that the circulation of newspapers was determined by a third party,
100%,
right? A
Yes.
third party auditor,
Yes.
to make sure everyone's on the legit.
on the legit, right?
And guess who the third party auditor is for Google in the black box?
Google.
No one.
No.
No.
Right. On any of this stuff.
Well, no, do you not remember Auto Trader coming out and said they get 15 million unique users a month?
Yeah.
In 2005? Please, come on. I mean, I'm not buying it.
No,
Sorry.
let's look at it from the consumer's perspective. All right. Look, it just made life easier, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I
what
like
convenience.
look,
That's
it was
what we're talking about.
convenient, right? Like, I mean, I'd have to go to a couple different gas stations to find the most recent updated version of that week's Auto Trader. So if I was shopping for something, I could do that. Now I could just do it from this device completely at home. I mean, you're right in the sense they didn't really change the model at all. They just changed the medium.
Yeah, they just changed how you do it, right?
Right.
Everything you said it earlier is communication. Everything's communication. It's just what devices and what do we use to communicate whatever we have to say to someone else. Right?
Yes.
That's it. That's the game.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the marketplace was always going to exist. All right, it existed for a long period of time. So and the reason for this is convenience, right? As a consumer, I'm going to look for a marketplace because I can consume exponentially more data and information in a singular spot than me being fragmented over all of these
But
things.
now-
The problem, I think, is that we let these companies railroad over us. And
Change the language of the business so
Yes.
you don't know what is real.
Well,
right?
I mean, so Auto Trader started out, they were probably the worst, ranking for your store, sometimes even higher than your store's name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they created all these individual dealership pages on the site. They telling the dealers, we're creating you a page on our site to help you out. No, it was to help them.
Them out, right? Of course.
100% was to help them out, and so that they could rank for your traffic rather than you ranking for your traffic.
214, I gave this presentation at NADA. Don't get in a data war with these guys because they're going to out data you.
Right?
Yes.
And they did.
And they did. And
Well,
but here's the bigger, probably the bigger issue, right? Is had the dealer look at if you really look at why people go to Auto Trader, it's the same reason people go to Expedia to look for
It's the collection.
A deal.
Yep.
It's everything in one place, but they never do it there. They don't do it there. When you go to Orbitz for a flight, do you ever book a flight through Orbitz? I go find out which flight's the cheapest flight for where I want to go, but I don't book it. I don't book it through Orbitz. When I go to Auto Trader to find a car, I find out what the prices of the cars I'm looking for are there. I don't buy it through Auto Trader.
So here's a question.
Yes,
How
I agree,
many
100%.
third-party sites do you believe you need to have your inventory on? Because, again, the word shopping, we all know what that means. Shopping, if you have your vehicles, I don't think someone has to see it 7 times.
I don't
because
think
if
they have to
find
even
one,
see it once.
Okay, well, maybe.
I'm out. I don't think you need it at all.
Oh, I don't think you need to be. I need
Look,
you need to go on your own website. You don't need them.
No.
The consumer's always going to they're going to be drawn to a shopping experience. I mean,
Right.
because we were talking about Billy Bob.
Yep,
The other night, some of the big sales and stuff like that. Remember those big companies and stuff like that? Like I remember participating, at the ones at the mall,
Yep.
where there'd be like
The mall sale,
19
yeah.
dealerships, 19 dealerships. We'd all bring our
You know, that's
inventory
called
in.
an event.
Yeah.
Right?
We call that an event.
They
Right?
got rid of them.
Right.
They got rid of
killed
them. But customers were drawn to that. I mean, dude, I remember like literally having like a lineup all right,
dude,
outside
no.
the tent at like 7 a.m. in the morning, waiting for people to come into this. There were 19 different dealerships or whatever, 9 different dealerships, whatever it was participating in this. We all brought our inventory to one big place because of that convenience.
Right.
People are going to be naturally drawn to this.
And they believe that there was a deal, right?
Yeah.
That this doesn't
it was
happen
an
all the time.
event. I mean,
it was an event.
when we had mall sales in Fred Meyer.
But it did create a deal. It created a deal because now I'm sitting against 3 other Chevy dealerships at the exact same place,
location.
which is really what the marketplace is doing as well. Now I'm putting up my inventory against all 19 other Chevy dealerships in my market, right? And now I'm having to be more competitive.
The dealers control it, not the auto traders, not the cars.com. They control it.
I will tell you the mall sales that I participated in that weren't that way at all.
No.
It was an event. It was something fun that the people came to do. There was not this whole. I mean, this whole thought of price comparison. It was they got to this. It was convenient because it was there. It was fun because it was there. And we had we brought the F&I computer to the mall event.
Yep.
And I'm sitting in. At that time I was doing F&I for in Idaho, and I had them. There were 30 people out the door
waiting,
and we're just contracting.
Yep.
Hell, I'm not even pulling bureaus.
Yeah.
I'm just contract. It doesn't matter. We're just contracting, and we're just contracting every single deal. And all I can remember about that is that it was weird that people weren't browsing around, and there weren't these more fights between salespeople who were trying to outbid one another or trying to get a customer. You taking my customer? There was.
That's what I experienced.
Yeah, none of that happened. It was so weird, so that part I don't think. Well, I don't not think. I know, the orbits, these phenomenon that people want to go to one place and find it and buy it there. Bullshit. Yeah. People want to go to one place and get informed there. They get informed at Auto Trader about what a vehicle should cost, and then they buy it from you.
Well, okay, so and then that's where I start to struggle with the third, because now these sites are going to dictate. All right, if my vehicle, now that's one thing that really pissed me off. And when did that start? 2015, I think, is about when that started. And boy, I remember, actually it was about maybe 16 somewhere, 15, 16 is where I think it started really getting popular. And I remember I actually did a podcast out and I actually had one of these third-party sites have their lawyers send me a letter telling me to take it down. And I was like, that ain't gonna happen. All right, because they were giving the good, best, better pricing. And so now my entire vehicle, the only story that those people were consuming was the story of the price. Nothing else could I say or do that actually would affect that.
Yeah, nothing, because that's what it was. I mean, that's what it is. It's a listing ad. It's like liners.
Right.
Like
Dale Pollock can say what he wants to, but the bottom line is it was a race to the bottom. It was.
And then they say, gee, we made an error. And they didn't make an error. They knew exactly what they were doing.
Well, but at that time, the sell was for Viato, is you knew your price and what the market price was, and you could go and you can dip below the market price. And then when this is how they would demo it. They would show you, if you get your price here, when the customer goes and flips over and searches by price from the highest to lowest, you show up here. And I'm going, that's. What I really love to know, and I asked Chip Perry this, and I never got an answer. How often is that sort high to low button clicked? Mm-hmm. Give me a percentage. Never got that answer. Probably won't ever get that answer, right? Because the bottom line is that that's not. I mean, it doesn't happen often on eBay either. No. The reality is people just. They don't want to be bamboozled, all right? They just want to be educated. So what they go to these sites to do is educate themselves, and then they go find the local car dealership who has what I want, and they go buy it.
I like the fact that you brought up educate, because I think as a dealer body, we actually do an atrocious job of actually educating anybody on a vehicle. And maybe I'm talking specifically about used cars, right? I mean, I love reading descriptions with private people selling their cars. Oh man, they'll tell you everything. Mm-hmm. They'll tell you, 3 summers ago when they replaced the tires and they did the tie rods and they did this and they did that, and it's like you go to educate yourself on a specific vehicle from a dealership, it's the same copy and paste description that they have for all 160 of their vehicles on there. Like,
Well, I mean,
it was
Deese
originally
used to talk
designed.
about Car Story all the time.
Oh, all the time. Every vehicle, every used car has.
has a history. In
So
this story.
that's where I saw the biggest value was. Originally in the marketplaces, what I saw the biggest value was is I love telling stories. I really do. I think I still probably one of the better storytellers out there, right? So like I love the opportunity because all of my competition were horrible at telling the stories. So here, let my inventory be next to 52 other people because I'm going to guarantee you my story is going to be at the top 3 of them.
So the average customer that's shopping for a car will shop 13 different sites before they pick where they're going to go. I always believed, hey man, you just need to be one of the 13 because it's called shopping. And if they're going to take a look at all 13, which they probably, well, whatever, and you've got your vehicle there and they're interested in it and it's got the right price on it, now you're in the ball game. I mean, shopping is shopping. What's that mean? I'm looking for a deal or I'm looking for
a specific type of type of car. But realistically, even doesn't matter how cheap it is. It doesn't matter how, for the most part, what it is, even to a degree. If they like, know, and trust you, they're going to buy it from you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the start and how do I get to start being liked, known, and trusted? It starts with a conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get.
It starts with a conversation, and a conversation with the dealership, and this is what always which is where I think we departed, right? Because once we lost control of our inventory, and it's out now, it's out here, right?
Yep.
Now at this point, and of course,
they're also buying convenience, right? Because you got the leads delivered to you,
Exactly.
right? And my salespeople suck, right? And so that's why I got to be there. And if I'm not there, someone else is going to get the lead, and they're going to.
Well, you got the story from Google. Meet the customer where they are. Oh my God! I mean, no. I mean, I'll go to. How about I just go directly to the customer and bypass Google altogether? What do we think about that?
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so like we have talked a little bit about this, about different metrics and stuff like that. So I mean, my question for both of you guys is, what metrics actually matter when it comes to a
phone call
listing?
matters, a floor up matters, an interaction email with a dealership matters. I don't think a click matters. I mean, you can buy them all day long if you want to. Sure. But I want contact.
Yeah.
I want
conversational something. A name, an email address, a mobile number. I mean, I've only beat this drum probably for 24 years now. It's leads, okay? You can call them whatever you want to call them, but it's a name, an email address, and a mobile number, man.
Yep.
And if I am on your platform and I am looking for customers who have not bought from my store, this is what I measure you by. And so what it cost me to acquire a name, an email address, and a mobile number is what I'm going to judge your advertising by or your marketing by. And then I'm going to start looking at the quality of the name, the email address, and the mobile number. How many of those actually engage? Because it's going to come down to an engagement score by the leads that you send me, by the leads you send me, and how many conversations I have. Because at the end of the day, more conversations equals more car deals, period, end of story. I don't care. That metric will never change. 100 years from now, we'll be on this podcast talking about how we're still old guys that know shit, and the shit's still the same shit we know.
That no one else knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right. It's not hard.
It's not hard.
It's not
but when you get to talking about because you can't figure out how to get a lead, because you can't figure out how to get those three pieces of information, you want to put, look over here, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Well, that's kind of what the internet was delivering or selling was instantaneous business, right?
Yes.
That's what they're selling. And so fear and greed. Fear that you're going to miss out on a deal. Greed, you want to take advantage of someone's bad luck, right?
Right.
And that's what makes the world go round. Unfortunately, that's it. And they got suckered into believing what these guys were saying.
Yeah.
And then
the manufacturers had a lot to do with that too. They helped out.
Okay, so let's go. And since you brought manufacturers, let's talk a little bit about that, right? Because even manufacturers are participating in building.
Well, they own
these
it all.
marketplaces.
They own every car dealer's website. The franchise do.
Well,
I mean, it's
To a
all-
degree,
to a
yeah.
degree, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you show me a Chevy store that's got a website, and you tell me what's different than any other Chevy.
No,
website.
well, I mean that's how that all started. I mean, there was a whole
That goes back to
conference.
20 groups.
Yeah, there was a conference where
Well,
the
not 20.
BMW Canada, went through this entire study where they had standardized all of the websites across all the stores. Now, no one bothered to mention that BMW Canada only had 15 stores. that part was that part was convenient.
That was a side note.
Yeah, that was conveniently left out, right? But they how much they had improved the customer experience and all these things because they had standardized this website and made all this stuff happen. And so everybody decided they're going to standardize their brand across the website. Well, okay, if you're a franchise dealer, you got to realize that you've got a partner in this thing, right? We're OEM. So you're going to have to get if their brand standards wants these things to happen and your website to look a certain way. Okay, fair enough. As a OEM, you set brand standards. My website provider follows those brand standards, but you don't get to choose the website vendor.
Well, there's also history to how this. My recollection is when General Motors had their associations, right? Roberts at the time was head of Pontiac, and they took away the association money, right? And
The
that
Tier
pissed
2
off-
money.
Tier 2
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
Pissed off dealers incredibly because that was their entry into the television market, right? Well, in order to get that money back, they had to give up something. And they had to give up the internet, and they gave up the internet websites that the OEM can control. We'll give you back your association money, your tier 2 money, and go for it. Well, we all know what happened there, right?
Sure.
And so I won't say what I'm thinking, but I caught myself.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, the manufacturers pushed online marketing and online presence. And I don't think it was a bad thing.
No,
I think
for them it was a great thing.
That was a great
because
thing.
they're for market share. They
Right,
don't care who
right.
sells it. They just want to make
Right.
sure it's on a Ford.
So educating the dealer body and pushing that, but then selecting what vendors can do what.
Right.
That's where you cross the line.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where you cross the line.
The standardization of all these marketplaces created a kind of an unfair effect, is what you're saying.
Well, no, I'm saying that you can't choose. I can't, if I'm a dealer and I want, ABC local web provider to build my website, as long as he's willing to follow the brand standards of the manufacturer, ought to be able to do that.
Well, you can. You just won't get it co-opted.
Yeah, well, and you'll get a whole bunch of crap for it, and you'll get in every meeting you'll get hammered why you don't have a standard conforming website. I mean, but it is conforming. It conforms to every brand standard you have.
We've and that'll be another podcast. I think the golden handcuffs that is co-op or money that we use as manufacturers. But no, you're right. I mean, I think when we look at the power that third-party sites have now, the OEMs really did participate in kind of the transition of power over.
They
to
participated.
them.
They moved. They moved the cheese.
They moved the cheese
from the traditional media into online media,
Which they could
They could and
So since they
I don't know if
did
they
do
knew.
that-
I don't know if they knew they could control it, but they started to see they could, and they started stepping over the line, and to the degree the dealers allowed it. Because they were
didn't know
told
any
so,
better.
yeah, they were told so often by Google, by by General Motors, by these guys. Everything's going online. Everything's going online. Okay, I can buy that.
it did.
Yeah,
I mean,
I can buy that people will go online for information. But they're still not going on to buy. Digital retailing just showed you they don't want to go on to buy. They want just information.
Do you remember 1999 in Orlando, NADA? It was the .com.
Yeah.
And how they were going to change automotive retail because
Yeah.
it was inefficient, blah, blah, blah. These guys have been gunning the auto industry for 30 years.
Well, because you let them, because we let them, and they make a bunch of money gaslighting us the whole way. Why wouldn't they?
Yep. They did. I mean, they absolutely did.
Right.
And so what do you do now?
How do you how do you if you're going to be stuck in these third-party solutions, and I think for a lot of dealers out there watching and listening, you guys are stuck in a third-party site. If that's your manufacturer's requirements, or if just maybe even sometimes peer pressure saying you're a dealership, you better be a part of this site or that site or this medium or that medium. How do we maximize?
So what I've experienced over the past 20 years, let's say, is shit, I forgot what I have amnesia.
Well, this is old guys.
Yeah, this is old guys. Old guys. So continuity with advertising is a really important thing, right?
Yeah.
And so you used to have an agency, so to speak, would go in and handle everything. Okay, well that allowed them to look at their advertising and see what might be working and what might not, because they're dealing with one person or one agency or one company.
Yep.
When you start to bring in 5 different companies that do 5 different things to one guy, the GM, you lose all continuity. There's not advertising anymore. It's who can stump the chump a little bit, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And that's what it became. And so continuity went out the door. Cross-platform continuity didn't exist because I had to have 5 different guys do the same thing, but none of those 5 guys will talk to each other.
No.
Well, no, but all the 5 guys had their little
right.
their little widget, their little
that's right.
their little magic thing or this little thing that. And the reality is, the magical thing
Wasn't magical.
It wasn't magical at all. But it also, its goal was to do the same thing, get a lead.
Get a lead.
Right.
Right.
And but no one sat down and said but they said don't measure it. You can't measure us by leads. Sure, I can.
Well, no, you can't. Not because that's the hardest thing to get.
Yeah.
So they changed the language and said it's an impression, it's clicks.
Right? Yeah, bullshit. It's leads. You're never gonna take. You're not taking that. If my inventory is on your site, then the only thing that matters to me is how many leads I get from you. That's it.
That's it. That's what it should always have been.
Period. And then I'm going to be going to go further with that and saying if at least 70 to 80% of these leads don't engage, we still have a problem.
Yes. That is how to really kind of maximize the value there, is to measure them against metrics that actually give a shit.
Right.
They're actually worth a shit. Yeah.
And then they come back and tell you, well, your guys aren't answering them fast enough. They're going to put it back. They're going to keep batting it.
Remember
back on your side of the court.
You have to respond within 10 minutes.
Yeah, right. now, all that entire study comes out of an MIT study done by I just had it in my head. But anyway, the long story of that is that there is validity in the study itself.
Sure.
Right.
Yes.
But so lead response time, there is validity in the study, but I'm not talking about and I think it's good that we got into lead response time, but the minute that they couldn't justify their cost one way, they just lead response time, yeah, and then what's lead response time? It's quality of response. And then, you're going, okay, come on, guys.
You can never catch them.
No, because they're going to keep batting it back. Yep. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. Yep. It's all your fault.
Can we get into the add-on that these third-party sites have just literally just dumped on us, right? I mean, I think and I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of us have a bad taste in our mouth for these third-party sites, is just that they've add-oned us to death.
The Alpha Dog program, right?
It's just like
where you can go spend $25,000 and get the tower ad. Yeah. You'd be at the first of the shot of the listings. I mean, well, sure, they had to grow somehow. Right, and this is so now. Not only do you have to have your inventory on my platform, but now you got to pay me extra so that you come up before anybody else.
Right, of course.
Right,
yeah. Because they got the audience.
Yeah, they say they have the audience.
They say they do.
Yeah, well,
but that's what we pay. We pay anybody that tells us that they're doing something today, and you get a check.
That needs to be like another podcast. Like, do they really have the audience? I know for a fact.
No.
I know for a fact, a very, very specific one, reports completely incorrectly.
I think they all
we're
report
talking
completely.
200-300% correct.
Yeah.
And who's going to catch them? How can you?
You can't.
And they know it, right? And they're suckers.
Yeah. So, I mean, it has to come down to the one thing you can count on. Leads.
Leads.
I get a name, I get an email address, and I get a mobile number. I email the customer, call the customer, text the customer. How many of them engage, and how many do I sell?
Yeah. So,
If those numbers aren't in line, you and I can't play ball. Sorry.
and then you get these guys out that are selling impressions per 1,000. I mean, that's stupid to buy that way.
That's
Absolutely.
ridiculous.
Okay.
That's dumb.
Well, and I mean, again, when you were talking about kind of adding on us to death, that's kind of what I was getting into my next topic was kind of the future of these marketplaces and some of the crazy crap that they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say I'm an Audi dealership and I'm selling an A6 and there are 9 other Audi dealerships selling an A6. Well, I can now buy your traffic from your dealership and your dealership. Yep. All right, because somebody landed on your A6, but I really want them to see my A6. So now I can actually buy your traffic with the impression route, and I can now put impressions against you, even though you never looked at my A6, you looked at your A6. Like, isn't this getting a little ridiculous?
Totally ridiculous.
Like, it's not just more than a little ridiculous. Here's another thing most probably, if you're a Toyota dealership, you may not know this, but do you realize your Toyotas are listed on Autotrader.com by default? Toyota pays for that. You don't have to pay to get them listed on AutoTrader. Toyota's already paid them.
So the manufacturers are just promoting more of this.
Yeah.
Look, it's my IP. I spent the money to recondition that vehicle. I spent the money to get that vehicle detailed. I spent the money to take photos of that. I spent time in writing a proper description for that. Mm-hmm. And now the traffic or eyeballs that are generated from that, you're going to go resell this to another dealership.
Yeah, it's crazy. And they do it knowingly.
Well, they clearly stated in their documents. They're not hiding it from us. So at what point, as dealers, do we say enough's enough?
I can tell you. I know of at least 2 dealers that already have.
There you go.
And
I think there's much more. I think
there's much more
a bunch of them.
But I know just personal experience that 2 dealers recently that have just said we're done. Mm-hmm. And more dealers. Yeah, at $700 a car, something's got to go. And if you're not providing me leads, and I can't draw a direct line to your sales, you're the one going.
Yep.
You got to be.
Yep.
No, you're right. I mean, there are some great operators, and if you're watching, listening, you know who you are. That have gone to if this marketplace is going to produce me this many leads at this cost, well, let me try to do that myself.
Right.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the customer's not going to go to AutoTrader and buy that Toyota Corolla 3 states away because it's $200 cheaper on AutoTrader. Not going to happen. They're going to go down to their local Toyota store, say, I can buy it for this here. Will you sell it to me? The guy's going to say, yeah, you bet. And they're going to do a deal. So it doesn't matter. They're going to go there for the information, and then they're going to come to you.
The internet was around before COVID.
A little while.
Pretty sure it was.
COVID dumbed down everything. It made everybody stupid, and they forgot everything, right? Why? Because they were making enough money, they didn't give a shit about anything else because they didn't need it, right? Exactly. And now when inventories are back up, they're kind of screwed. But they've lost the education, or the knowledge transfer was never there. You said earlier, what's the lifespan of a desk band?
About a year and a half.
Yeah. Okay, well, that ain't much time if it lasted 3 years.
The generationed out.
Yes.
During COVID.
Yes.
And so there's a small group left that know how to do it.
At events. I remember Toyota Tent Tuesdays, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, those were fun.
Make it fun to buy a damn car again, for God's sake. They don't know how to do it.
Because the people that own the internet aren't fun. There is nothing fun about clicking on an ad, clicking on a line. There's nothing fun about that.
No. I mean, I remember I used to have to cook the hot dogs.
My first.
You had conversations with people.
Imagine that.
Right.
Waiting to get a hot dog.
They're nice people. We had fun. We bought a car, great, blah, 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 blah. But that's been lost. It's
the art of an event is completely like my first experience inside of a dealership. I was 9 years old. Went with my dad he went to go buy a Ford truck, an F-150. All right. Well, when I went to the dealership, there was a monster truck there, a petting zoo, a bouncy castle. Right. And my dad still tells the story today. I think for about 3 years after that, if he asked what we wanted to do on a Saturday, I said, I want to go to the dealership.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
because that's what I just assumed happened at car dealerships were bouncy castles, hot dogs, and monster trucks. Like, it was badass.
There's a local dealer that used to have a pig roast every year for 35 some odd years, and I loved it. I looked forward to their pig because it was a party. Everybody, customers came and they were your friends, and you got to see them shoot the shit and drink. Now, but it wasn't every weekend. He did it once a year,
Sure.
right?
Right.
And so, but and then the party and the event tried to get commercialized by being controlled by the OEMs. I think they try to control the business and they squash down
the creativity. The creativity. Now, I know we're getting off topic, but it is still a third party. There's a third party event solution.
Because if you're not going to do third parties, what are you going to do?
Okay, so there you go.
You got your website, don't you?
Well, we're at
there.
the tail end of our time. I actually think that's a great way for us to kind of exit this off, right? If you're not going to do third parties, all right, what are you going to do? I'm gonna actually go with Rob's, and I'm gonna take that money and I'm gonna do some serious events. I'm actually gonna get back into the event business.
I would. Because no one else is doing it.
I don't see anything wrong with that. I'm saying if I'm not,
I know where you're going, Larry, and that's absolutely where you need to go. Is the consolidating of the name, the list, the people that you can...
Well, I mean, direct conversations, right?
Sure.
I'm definitely going direct conversations, but that should have never left.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the foundation of your marketing, period.
Yep.
And but if I'm not going, when you see these, if I'm not going to the third parties, then I'm going to go through a lot like events. I'm going to go through my social media. I'm going to go through my website, and I'm going to make sure I have this crazy thing called a USP.
Yeah.
Right.
Unique selling proposition.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to differentiate my dealership from your dealership. Yep. Mm-hmm. And there's I think we have and
there's a cost associated with that. I think, and I just wanted to bring that up because I think some people think of that and it's like some marketing message. No, there's a cost associated to actually doing that and executing it correctly.
Well, I mean, a USP there. I mean, if you're watching the podcast, email the email. I've got 10 USPs. I'll just send them. I'll send you the document. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 10 USPs, 10 ways to separate yourself from the dealership because everybody buys the car the same. Everybody can sell the car the same. Yep. What's different about you?
Yep.
We just got away from that. And the manufacturers, they want everything to be the same.
Absolutely.
And they don't care. They do not care what dealership they buy it from, just as long as it's my manufacturer. Yep. They don't care. You have to care. So it's got to be about what's going to differentiate you from from the other people in your market. And it can't just be, well, I'm better or I'm cheaper. Or you've got to get real about your USP. Right. You got to get real about your USPs. And that to me was lost.
Yeah.
That was the piece that was lost. Is nobody sat down and said, okay, what can I use to differentiate my store? And you know what? An event is one of those things that differentiates you.
Absolutely.
100%.
I've got YouTube TV because I can't get my local cable, so I got to use the app. And so when you buying streaming services, there's 12 different ones you got to buy if you're going to catch the whole market that isn't hooked up to cable. Well, I see at night because I still watch the news. I watch because I like local sports. I see this one group on all the time, and I won't say who they are, but they're on all the time. And it also coincides that they're the biggest used car guy in town, right? They're the only one there. I never see anybody other than them.
Yes.
And so they're maybe not a big audience anymore for local television. I believe there is, and there's ways to figure that out. But they get repetition to me all the time.
Reach and frequency has not changed.
No, that's a great point. I mean, the simple strategy of reach and frequency has fundamentally not changed, and reach and frequency directly equates to actual leads. Yep. All right, so I don't believe you have to pay a third party provider to be able to hit that reach and frequency. You can do it yourself.
Yes,
and I think it's just taking the time and being proactive
and having people that know how to do it, right?
Well, that's true.
Because a lot of folks forgot how to do it or Don't do it
Well, I mean,
because again, a digital and agencies are two
Yeah.
different things.
If you get on LinkedIn every time, then you'll always about 3 times out of the week you'll get a story from Tracy Myers about somebody who hates his commercials.
Yes.
And I love to read those.
I love
stories.
Tracy's
Shout out to
commercials.
Tracy.
Yeah, shout out Tracy.
Because I love reading those about how they hate his commercials because you want to get more of them because they remember.
Exactly. That's what
Top
good
the
marketing-
mind awareness, right?
That's right.
Never mind. And when they're telling him the story about how he hates their commercials while they're there buying a car.
Right. Exactly. I hate your spots.
I hate your commercials as I'm driving away in my brand new car.
Yes.
Hey guys, I know we're towards the tail end of our conversation. This has been a great conversation. And for everybody out there watching and listening, we'd love to kind of get your thoughts and opinions as well. So, please jump into the messaging down below. We'd love to kind of get your guys' thoughts on third-party sites and providers. If you guys like this content and you want to consume more content like this, hey, Larry, where can they find out more podcasts?
They can find out more at thedealercast.com. Thedealercast.com. You can subscribe. You can listen to the latest podcast there. Thedealercast.com is where it's happening.
That's where it's happening, guys. Hey, guys, thanks so much. This has been fun. This was a good one.
This was a good
one.
We can do it again.
We could, definitely. For everybody out there watching, listening, one of the biggest compliments you can give us is to share the show. It means a lot to us. If you have a friend, a colleague, or manager that needs to listen to some part of today's conversation, share the show. It means so much. Thank you so much, guys, for taking the time, and everyone out there watching and listening. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Ciao.
Thanks for tuning in to the Old Guys Know Shit podcast with your host, Old Guys Who Know Shit. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.